House Bill 2129. Their clerk will read the bill.
HB 2129 by Murphy, relating to the extension of the expiration of certain parts of the Texas Economic Development Act.
The chair recognizes Representative Murphy to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Bill 2129 extends the duration of the state's Chapter 313 program, which allows for a temporary reduction in taxable value for large capital projects. Members, this program has been a huge success for our state. There are agreements in virtually every legislative district. $119 billion investments been secured, Mr. Speaker and members. This means millions more in revenues for our school and their students. Changes to our legislation made in 2013 were designed to address concerns regarding some of the earlier agreements. We wanted to help our ISDs and protect our taxpayers. Members, while this is a short bill, it simply extends the agreement, extends the program rather, where the reviews are very much part of the program by the Comptroller's Office, and these reviews will be continued so we retain its financial integrity and fuel the engine of the Texas economy.
Representative Stickland, for what purpose?
The gentleman yield for some questions.
The gentleman yield for questions.
I'd be happy to, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman yields.
Your bill extends the ability of local governments to grant Chapter 313 agreements for another 10 years. Is that correct?
Well, independent school districts, but yes.
Okay. Without your bill, Chapter 313 would essentially expire in 2022. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you aware of where the Republican Party of Texas stands on Chapter 313 agreements and its platform?
I am not.
They are against it. Do you know where the Texas Democratic Party stands on Chapter 313 agreements and its platform?
No, I think you're going to tell me about that. That's apparently something you've got down.
They're against it as well. I'm looking at the witness list for this bill. Is it true that the Center for Public Policy Priorities testified against the bill?
I believe that's the case.
Is it also true that the Texas Public Policy Foundation testified against the bill?
You know, I think we had over 100 people show up to support the bill, and there were some that were against the bill.
Representative Murphy, are you aware of any other bill in the legislature this session that is opposed by both the Texas GOP and the Texas Democrat Party platform?
I'm not aware of any bill that has had this many supporters sign up and testify for it in committee hearing, as we heard in Ways and Means. It's working. We have $119 billion invested and thousands of jobs coming to Texas that's going to produce millions of dollars for our schools. People have all kinds of concerns, and we're here to address them.
Representative, how much are we currently spending each year to reimburse local governments for Chapter 313 agreements?
Zero.
Thank you.
Remember, I think it's important you hear that. We don't reimburse people. We simply delay the bill, delay the property coming onto the tax rolls, and then it all rolls on. As I said, $119 billion in investment.
Representative Phelan, for what purpose?
Would the gentleman yield for questions?
The gentleman yield for questions.
Yes, sir.
The gentleman yields.
Murphy, isn't it true that other states offer incentive packages similar to Chapter 313 here in Texas?
Virtually every state in America offers a program like this. And I'd love to say, you know, we shouldn't do these sorts of things, but it's a competitive environment. And in Texas, with a 313, it takes our taxes, property taxes are fourth highest in the nation, fourth highest. And this takes them down to about average.
Sure. And isn't it true, Chairman Murphy, that just look at Louisiana and what they do as far as their incentive package, that really Texas is pretty modest in what we offer to some of these large industrial and even small businesses that come into Texas who are looking for an incentive program. I think we're pretty modest, and as someone who represents the Texas-Louisiana border, I'm not just competing with, you know, Louisiana, I'm also competing with global competitors, and they also offer packages that far exceed what Texas offers, correct?
Well, and that's true, Representative Field, and not only are we competitive, but we also are more regulated with the role of the comptroller and the cost-benefit study. These programs are highly regulated, which is why we have the data to report on their success.
And the argument is flawed, wouldn't you agree, that this is money that the school districts never receive, when in fact they wouldn't have gotten it anyway because the projects never would have come to their district to begin with?
Yeah, as the saying goes, half of something is better than 100% of nothing.
You're absolutely correct. Great bill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Phelan.
Speaker. Mr. Huberty, for what purpose?
The gentleman yield for questions.
Gentleman yield for questions?
I do.
The gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. So for areas like Harris County, as an example, that have a lot of unincorporated area that they're trying to do economic development on. These are good agreements for districts like ours. Would that be a fair assessment, especially for the school districts as they continue to grow and we can get economic development, especially when you have what used to be considered the old Chapter 42 districts that are considered low wealth?
Right. No, not only is it, I think, good for all sizes of districts and the different scale of projects, but they're permissive. No district has to do these. If they choose not to do them, then that's up to them.
That's up to their school board, correct?
Absolutely.
That's right. And so this provides the opportunity for areas like that I represent, Lake Houston area, that has an economic development group that's out there trying to get businesses to come in to get the industry and commercial businesses to come to our area so that we can continue to be self-sustaining on our tax bases versus leaving property taxes specifically to be paid for by our homeowners. Is that not true?
It's absolutely true. And by getting in the game with these programs, we get to look at more deals and we can choose from the best.
Yep. Good bill. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I move for passage.
Does any other member wish to speak on for or against House Bill 2129? If not, the question occurs on passage or engrossment of House Bill 2129. Representative Stickland has requested a record vote. It's a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Members, I'll give you time to vote from your desk. Representative Navarez, show Representative Navarez voting aye. Show Representative Patty voting aye. Have all voted. Show Representative Tenderholt voting no. There being 114 ayes and 27 nays, House Bill 2129 is passed to engrossment.